Hey, it's obamasweapon.com. I wanted to do a video here, talk about psychic paranormal ability. Now, I'm just passing on info from others and putting my own spin on it, giving you insight to where others didn't know or talk about, or to give you just an idea. So, Jon Rappoport, he's a famous writer, and investigator. He wrote books. He's been a newspaper writer and stuff, I was just watching a video with him, and he's explaining mind control and paranormal stuff, and what happens when you leave the atmosphere of the planet, the magnetosphere or whatever, and you have paranormal experiences up in space, I guess. So you'll have you'll think that you're talking to your dead mom up there and stuff. And it's really cool what he's talking about. But then he goes into talking about the paranormal investigations that went on. The Americans and the Russians, we all had this field of science called parapsychology. And I think that's what covers everything there. And everyone thinks it's a farce, but it's actually real. And I was actually yesterday talking about, but this is not pseudoscience, man. You're talking about the universe and people being impacted by the universe, and the universe being impacted by people. That's all that is. And there's energies flowing through things. Alright? Up in space, you're gonna have the whole universe up there. And you're also gonna lack everything you had down on Earth. So the environment's gonna be different. So the environmental conditions will affect you. And you'll think, and also there's other things. The military might be like experimenting on people up there, hitting people from the ground with radiation weapons and stuff. And some of these experiences could have been that. So it's sad that that's the way the world is. And parapsychology, we're talking about the psychic ability, and now, in my opinion, all that's farce by itself. Okay, and the CIA was investigating this too. They had something called Stargate. They wanted to be able to remote view, and I think a lot of the stuff on that's covered up. I think they succeeded. But look, so he's talking about how, so in parapsychology, when they're studying it, they might be down on the ground and they have like a room. One of the things they do is like, can a person in another room know what card you saw and see it through you? And different things that they might do, right? So they would actually, one guy was getting very high rates of actually being able to see what another person saw in another room. So they might bring in some cards or like a box or something and show it to one person, and then take it over to another person in another room and show, okay, what did that person over there see? And this guy was able to see. And so I think, so someone asked him, how are you able to do this? And he goes, well, I just imagine a woman in another room, in another area, and she shows me what card he saw or whatever he saw, what he picked. Because they might ask you to pick something out of the box or whatever. And I started to wonder about that. I mean, now people, as humans, there's a lot of interesting things that we could do. Some of this is bound to be real. The sensing of energies, I don't really know. I'm not going to go into that though. I wonder if it's partly real though. if there's something, but on its face without there being something scientifically working there, like, I wouldn't believe by any way that he could tell himself. So I started to think about it. I started to go, if there's no, like, nothing there for him to sense, to tell, then this could all be done electronically. And what if this was really a test to see if the military's remote viewing synthetic telepathy weapons were working right? Okay, so what they would do is they would have this guy envision or pick something, and they're they're basically watching, and they know what he picked. They're testing the system out to see if they could tell, possibly. This is just one way they do it. This is one test. So they would go, can we read his brain and find out what he picked remotely? Then can this guy conjure up everything by envisioning something, which includes the data, and the computer will beam in a signal into his brain and tell him what it is, what it was. And this is the way they actually use it. You conjure up an idea, and the brain-computer interface just mixes in with what you're, it'll beam in a signal. So you will see a woman or a card or whatever. Maybe you'll envision the woman yourself. The computer itself will generate and pull that out. And it becomes part of what you're seeing. It's really not that hard to, you're just seeing whatever you thought. The computer itself is broadcasting it right back into your mind. Or it might even go into just part of your visual memory and just put the card there. So that's how the technology works. It lets your own mind visualize what it's going to do, but it'll go in and alter what it is you're seeing with the card. So you'll know what card to pick. So they're testing out the remote viewing and the synthetic telepathy crap. And that's what they were doing. The other thing they could have done is physically have a woman there, like, actually showing him what card it was through the BrainLink technology that I'm talking about. So that's what they were testing on this motherfucker. And that's barring if there was no other ability for him to sense and all that. And what I just told you is more probable than any other thing. Most likely there is nothing linking people together but the universe, okay? There's no outside storage states. There's no ghosts that remain. Energies remain to a degree, you know? Like what I'm talking about is when you're decaying and dying until everything's mixed back in with all the other matter and energy, you know? It takes something to sustain the energy fields, okay? And there's nothing that we know in science that's there doing that unless you're alive and your body's doing it. Or technology is doing it. So like a satellite or something. Or military radar. Alright. And actually people talk about remote viewing a lot. Cops do it. A cop actually told me, he says, what you're telling me about sounds a lot like remote viewing. Yeah, he was actually telling me stuff I never heard of before back in 2011, 2012. Never heard of remote viewing, but he says he knew about it. And he was one of the cops actually using this, man. He was just telling me some of the stuff that he was publicly allowed to talk about it, you know. They're not fearful of doing that because who's going to believe you? So they can tell you whatever they want. That's the thing about it. They could tell you what's going on, but nobody on the outside of their world, like you go to an attorney, you go to the public, the newspaper, no one gives a fuck. They're not going to write it. That's why nobody gets help. There's people, legit victims. This stuff is so fucking real that you can't get fucking help. So that's, I mean, remote viewing, dude, and synthetic telepathy. I absolutely believe that any type of demonstration of anyone who was successfully remote viewing, that was a technological game they were playing, or either that or a trick. there's various methods of trickery. You got to be really careful. Maybe they're trained, you know, the subjects trained before they go in, you know, to be able to link up with their other counterpart or whatever. And that's all mental, you know, you're looking for a pattern or same color, or the whole thing's just rigged. But for it to be real, it's going to be with technology. When the government would be testing that out, man, they're like, all right, let's test this technology out. Can we successfully link this system up to these people to let them see and know what was happening in another room? See, that's what it's about. So that other guy would know what that guy chose, the card or whatever, or what thing in the object in the box in the other room. Alright, so it's all real, man. It's all real. It's so old. Most people think that, oh, our forefathers were stupid asses. These people in our country are very smart, man. And I had to give myself a new brain that wasn't stereotypical and retarded, and I thought about it myself, and I went back. Everyone else is stupid ass. They all think that, oh God, people didn't have technology that was any good, but actually, it's very high-end technology going back to a long time ago, man. I'm like looking at the old stuff, and television's a really high-end fucking thing, man. So is like a military radar. The first military radar, really high-end. It's cooking people. It's fucking making fray effects in them and stuff. Really high-end, man. They made the radar range out of it. First microwave oven. Transistors and all that stuff is really high-end shit. It's, I mean, I don't know what else is out there, you know. I'm just going, what the government truly is, they would take technology and just right away snap it up, and then 45 years later, the public still doesn't have it. So that's the other shit that's been going on. So the public is really 45 years behind on things. The military's keeping the most advanced shit secret, which they use as weapons on people. I mean, CIA admitted they're behind most of the UFO sightings too. I mean, seriously, CIA. They admitted it. The alien abductions, military did that shit to people, man. The ones that weren't mental illness, they do exist. Anyway, so I think I just had this idea to make this video because Jon Rappoport, what he was saying, I got a video on my site. It's actually in the playlist right now, and it's from March 9th, 2015. When I was hearing that, I decided to fill in the blanks. That maybe there's something the guy didn't say about how he was really remote viewing, and he explained what he was seeing in his mind and what he was doing and conjuring it up. He wasn't describing that there was a secret system he was hooked up to, probably. And that's the real situation. And that's the way they would have tested it. They would have done it in other ways too, like out in the streets, seeing if different cops could link up and use it and shit like that. And, but there's a lot of stuff involved. There's positioning. You got to get the signals to go to the right person and all that. The computer's targeting different people at once, you know. They would have been testing shit like that out. So it would be amazing to get it to work, you know. You got a couple of guys in a room and secret spies and assassins use this all over the place. Means you're not gonna walk away here being like, well, a woman weapon not coming. Here's what I'm eating.